welcome back to Hindustan Astrology. I'm Katya, and I have back today my very dear friend, Shehnaz Soni. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you, Katya, for inviting me again.
You're welcome. So last time we had her on, and we just got a little bit of an idea about the kind of work she does with teaching and the Kabbalah and the life activation, which she is a practitioner of from the Modern Mystery School. And in this talk, we're going to go through part of one of her lectures, not a whole one, but just so that we get a flavor of, what kind of material she teaches, and how she is able to access this information to help us bust our patterns. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Katya. So just a quick intro. So my name is Shehnaz Soni, and I still work for NASA, working on human landers. And as my hobbies, I teach classes. I teach a couple of online classes, which I'm going to go over here. And the thing that I wanted to express myself as that, on one hand, I'm a research scientist, and I work as a scientist. On the other hand, I've gone to many mystery schools, and I have done a large amount of spiritual training. And also I had a very interesting life, just being from Pakistan, having 4 kids, being single, having a special child, and being in a very conservative culture where the girls are not even supposed to go to school and so forth. So I have a kind of an interesting flavor that I bring to my teaching. And the first one I'm going to talk about is I do teach a Kabbalah class, which is a 12-week training, and everything right now I'm doing is on Zoom and online. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so one of the things that I would like to say is that's actually my logo, because my company name is Ashes to Sona, and it's all about a transformational journey. We're all alchemists here. And I guess by taking these trainings, you are consciously alchemicalizing yourself into whatever you desire, because we are a co-creator in an image of God. So one of the things that I wanted to do, and for the fun of it, is that I actually think that every time when you actively participate in something as important as transforming yourself actively, then it reminds me of the scene in The Matrix where Neo goes through the entire transformation. So I actually wanted to share the video, but I'm not seeing that it's happening really well. So I'm going to try it again and see if it works. Okay, I think it will work. So I'm going to leave it there actually, because it's a pretty good one, just to give you a little perspective that is how I feel that every time when you take an active role in learning something, you are actually making an effort to understand yourself, and also you are separating yourself from the illusion that we are living in, and you are able to see the truth for what it is. So that is like a constant process. It's never ending. While we're here, we are going to be constantly evolving, learning, thriving, inspiring. And Kabbalah is a system that's already been placed by, it comes pretty much from Metatron, from Abraham, from, actually Jewish were the first one who actually incorporated it. And it's actually embedded in as a flower of life all over the world. And some of the places I've been myself, and that to me is a pretty big thing that our ancient ancestor knew about it. So, and this emblem that you're seeing here is 535 BC is the signature, time signature on this information. And according to Nassim Harriman, who basically says that this sacred geometry actually shows you the overlapping spherical Planck scale oscillating waveform, which makes up the proton, electron, and pretty much every single thing is made up of that. So that flower of life teaching is kind of a little bit embedded in my Kabbalah teaching, because Kabbalah tree of life is a subset of flower of life. So I just wanted to show you this picture quickly so you know that I have been to those Siren, this temple here in Egypt, in Abydos, and I had to really bribe heavily just to get these pictures taken by my phone, because they actually have blocked the entire area where you can't go there anymore. And these flower of lives are not drawn on it. They are actually etched on it in a way that they had to use a technology to do that. So it can never be taken off. Now that says a lot about Egypt, our ancient ancestor, about the technology, and the very fact that now, after so many hundreds and thousands of years, we're coming into realization that how rich our ancestry is. So Flower of Life is actually a knowledge system that should be taught in school. That's what I would advocate for if I can. And as you can see that the tree of life is etched on Flower of Life here. And a lot of time people don't realize that Kabbalah is not just a Jewish methodology. It actually is something that every single human being needs to learn it, because it's embedded in our DNA, it's embedded in our cell. It's just what helps us understand who we are, where we come from, and where we are going. So one of the quick thing I wanted to show here, because Merkabah, a lot of people know about Merkabah, and Merkabah is actually kind of like we're creating a device, like we are a human craft, and we're sitting in this Merkabah, which means we are creating a spacecraft by virtue of our frequency and vibration, and by lining up ourselves in a way that we can actually teleport. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And that understanding can get deepened as you study the tree of life, Kabbalah, flower of life, because that's where the foundation of understanding something like this comes from. So I just wanted to make sure that I throw it out there for you guys to have that vision, because how everything that we have learned in our spiritual quest, they all kind of interconnect and interrelate. So why would anybody else has to reach Kabbalah other than the fact that it helps you manifest, it helps you understand yourself, it actually pretty much is embedded in all the religion, and it actually is a roadmap of consciousness and roadmap for yourself to navigate your life for. So if those reasons are not enough, then I guess the other reason I can give you here is that the Einstein theory of relativity explains that if you were to travel to the speed of light, then strange thing would happen to space and time. And that become very apparent as you study Kabbalah, because Kabbalah shows you all the parallel universe and parallel dimension and all the lower density part of our existence that contributes for us to come into this existence. And as a word, it actually means receive and to reveal. So it basically teaches you everything that you're supposed to receive and broadcast as an image of God, because that's what God does and that's what you do. And the other thing that it helps you understand is that if you really look at yourself, that you get a universal remote where you understand how to tap into any channel, any frequency you want to dial in, just by being aware, just by changing your perspective, just by putting your focus into one of the emanation of light. So it becomes a very conscious way of understanding yourself and your contribution and the consciousness as a whole, and how the entire projection and holographic universe works. So this is a tree of life embedded on a human body. And as you can see that there's a source of light, which is described by the three arc, and that itself can take 12 weeks to understand that if you really want to go into that. I actually mostly focus on the 10 emanations you see here and the paths that you see here, because based on your birth date and time, you can actually see that which emanation you are predominant in, and also which path you are here to learn about. So it becomes a very important thing for you to know all of it. And then as you can see that there is a polarity, there's a yin and yang, and then there are Boaz and Jachin, who are the guides that are assigned to each of these pillars that you can call on. And as you can see that the chakra interplays the role here. The color actually just shows the different frequency and vibration of each of these separa. And there are many different pictures of tree of life, because every tree of life is a very, very deep, like onion, like you keep on peeling and you keep on learning type of teaching. And here I have just made a little attempt to give you a little more information on each of these separa and what it means and what angels to call on, depending on which one are you focusing on, and what are the different attributes are, and how even the planetary, planet plays a role in here. And every single thing that, if you have learned in spirituality, it just all comes together here. Every single thing, including the tarot cards. Because tarot
I was going to ask you, do you do tarot? Because I teach tarot and I teach Kabbalah, but yeah.
Yes, I just did not wanted to put that picture in because it just gets too busy. But tarot cards are basically like, every single path has a tarot card assigned to it. And then the tarot card relates to the deck of cards that we play on a daily basis. So it's amazing that how all of these things are already embedded in our life. So if somebody has never learned tarot card or never learned Kabbalah, but they love their cards, they don't realize that they're already calling on the energy of these things. So it's a very rich, incredible system. And if you have a intention and interest in learning this is going to be one of the best gifts you can give it to yourself, is what I would say. And then the other thing that's very interesting about the Kabbalah is that there's a pattern on the trestle board. And when you really look at this pattern, every single affirmation here is here. So actually, if you don't do anything in your life and just recite these affirmations, you have got one of the rituals for a daily ritual that was going to just bring you abundance by virtue of you reciting it. So like if you look at the number 6, which is like the Christ consciousness, and it says, in all things great and small, I see the beauty of the divine expression. If you can just even live with that one statement, your life is just going to unfold into the most beautiful life you can ever imagine. So that is how powerful this is. And if anybody likes to go deep dive into this, then this is another thing that I can go deep dive into, where it basically shows that how all of the planes that exist and they're overlay on top of each other, they all are here, and they all have because it's an emanation of Sapara. That is what the tree of life is. And that's why it's being projected based on which plane you are operating at, depending on which emanation you are focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the light travels from the source, and then it goes from your left to right and so forth. And then it ends up coming in existence in the highest dense form on earth in physical dimension. And that is part of the teaching of Kabbalah. And then it goes into the 4 world, which actually is very interesting, because these 4 world helps you understand how manifestation works in Kabbalah, because these 4 words also are overlay on top of each other. And I'm just going to quickly go to the actual chart to make it easier for you to see that there are 4 separas that are overlaying on top of each other. And each of these separa itself has 10 separa embedded in them. So when you really do the multiplication of the amount of things that are overlaid at a time, you actually get the number 400, which is the last letter of the Hebrew letter. So there is just a lot of correlation with everything that is there. And since I'm just giving you a little bit of a taste and not wanting to go into every single one, in my class, I pretty much go deep dive into each of these information. So no matter where you are at your level of understanding, you're going to be able to comprehend what I'm conveying here, because I am willing to hold your hand and make sure you understand and don't get lost. Because as I said, this is a complex teaching, but it's extremely useful and it's very powerful. And it helps you actually manifest whatever you want. Because when you follow the 4-word meditation, where basically you're going through a process of creation by coming up with the idea and then putting your heart and soul into it and thinking about it, and then creating a plan for it, and then performing an action towards it. And so there is an example here that has been used that, if you imagine that you want to create, you want to build an ideal house, then how you go about doing it, what type of progression of steps you will have to take to make the house come into reality. And anybody and everybody can imagine that, because we have all done it at one point in our lives. But that's the exact same concept you're basically using in creating anything in your life. But Kabbalah teaches you that the sky has no limit, which means you can pretty much do anything you want, but you have to put your heart and soul in it, right? You can't just think about it and never perform any action, never create a plan, never put your heart and soul and think about it and put your emotion towards it. So that is the key for manifestation. And it sounds easier than done, but once you understand the deeper meaning of how the system works, then the manifestation actually happens automatically, because it becomes part of your story. So I wanted to end with this slide as far as the Kabbalah goes, is that, people have questions about what separates me from my personality, or what separates me from my soul, or what separates me from my spirit, or what is the difference between emotions and feelings, and it just goes on and on and on. All of those answers are actually provided by this system. So yes, and I would love to teach you if you're interested.
Wow, thank you so much. I love to see how people present the Kabbalah without talking about the tarot, because, a lot of people that are, real, Jewish rabbis, they often don't want to associate the tarot with the Kabbalah, but it's so clear that the systems work together. And either way you come at it, I mean, this is the blueprint of creation. It's the lightning bolt path of creation. So when you see that it happens in every aspect of nature, it just makes so much more sense when, when you put it on your own body and you see, oh, I think I need to work on, Malkut, my lower back has been hurting. I need to ground myself. Or you have too many survival issues, and when you put, the actual tree of life into your body and then you see how it operates, then I think people get a lot of understanding.
Right. And then if you understand the trestle board, and if you're having trouble in Malkut, then you start saying the affirmation that the kingdom of spirit is embodied in my flesh. So you kind of just say it 3 times, or you can even call it the divine name, right? Like Adonai Haaretz, and you start calling it 3 times. So there's just so much tool that are provided once you identify the problem.
Yes. And I mean, and the thing about a teacher, we're all humans. Every teacher has their strengths and weaknesses, but you need to find a teacher that you resonate with and who doesn't give you any drama, where it's just clean and pure and you're just getting the information. And that's what I love about your personalities, because you're so bright and sparkly and you get things done, and, you make sure that things are understood. And so I have no doubt that your classes are fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So currently you're teaching like an introduction to Kabbalah right now, right?
Right. So currently I'm teaching to actually have international students who reach out to me. So I'm basically in the middle of that teaching.
Okay.
And if I can get like 4 students, is what I'm generally looking for. Like if I have minimum 4, then I can start another session, because it would be
Okay.
good for you to start a session with the same group and stay with them for the rest of the journey, because you start bonding with each other.
And how long is the course?
So the course that I'm teaching is right now 12 weeks, because what I do is pretty much I go through the 10 emanation, and then I go for the pathworking class, which kind of gives them a very little flavor of pathworking and where they can work on. There's a special meditation assigned to each path. And once you identify your number, then at least you can use that meditation for your evolution process, because pathworking itself can be a whole another class. And so this is like more like I'm just giving people a peek into it. And as I get more and more interest, then I can expand my teaching.
And do you do one-on-one sessions with people, like with your students, if they want to, get some help with where they're stuck? How do you work with that?
Yes, I mean I'm a transformational coach by default, and I'm a life coach, and I can help anyone and everyone depending on whatever they need to process separately. So I can do one-on-one. I can do something where I can help them for 90 days. So yeah, like it's kind of one of those things where it's an individualized methodology that I use depending on the person and their budget of time and investment and all that. So yes, it's all available, because I'm just excited about helping um, the consciousness to evolve for the whole planet, so we can all have fun, because we're all connected with each other.
Yes, and you're excited about the material, and so that's what gives the Shakti, the power to the teaching, is the passion that you put into it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, if people want to sign up for your class, then they can go to your website, which is?
So it's my first name, last name.com. So my first name is Shehnaz, Shehnaz, Z like zebra, Soni. So it's like a one word.com.
Yes, and I'll put it down in the information section below the video. And then, of course, if you can get to where she's at in Alabama, you could get a clearing, a life activation clearing, and it's a one-time deal, so you don't need to worry about going back. Or you can find someone in your area that does it as well. And I'll put that information down there as well too, because I think that's important for people to be able to, follow through. Because if it's not in your area, you may not, whatever. But it might be in the next city over or something. So I did find a map, or it was on their website, where you could click and find out. So I think it's wonderful, the work you're doing. And of course, any questions, you can email me or go right to her website and email her. And she's on Instagram as well and Facebook. So check her out. And thank you so much, Shehnaz.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.